Greetings again everybody, and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. Right now we're chilling at the grave with the sword that looks like the great sword of Artorias, and there's an item here. It was left by Hawkwood, and Hawkwood has also left the Firelink Shrine. He merely left the shield behind for us as a memento, I suppose. I'm not sure. Maybe he didn't even leave it for us, he just left it there at the grave, because it has some significance to him. And the description basically only told us that he was a part of the Abyss Watchers, or rather the Undead Legion of Farron. But yeah, he's not dead. That's not his grave, obviously. He's still around, he just isn't in Firelink Shrine anymore, and we won't be able to find him for quite a while, actually. It's the most interesting Crestfallen Warrior storyline, I think, out of all of the Souls games so far. And we did actually get the Sage's Coal. And we should, of course, give it to Anri. He usually has something interesting to say about those coals that we can give to him. And we, in turn, get access to new infusions.
Well, well. What's the Undead Legion doing with a coal such as this? I'd heard one of the Crystal Sages had sided with Farron's Abyss Watchers. I suppose it must be true. You should know, this coal is imbued with magic. First one I've ever seen. Hardly a surprise, is it? I've never been one for books or wise men.
With that coal, we can now infuse our weapons with Deep Crystal or Blessed. Blessed is kind of interesting because it actually does restore focus if you have a weapon blessed, but it does fairly low damage as a trade-off, kinda, compared to other infusions. It really depends on the weapon, though. Again, some weapons just work better with certain infusions. And for the time being, since we're gonna use some more spells, why not just get some extra Ashen Estus flasks, just to be safe? That way we won't run out of focus for our spells. Alternatively, I could just infuse my weapon with Blessed and have a bit, well, more FP available. But I don't really think it's worth it at this point. Anyway, we're back here in Fern Keep, where we fought the Abyss Watchers, and many people kind of get stuck here. On one hand, I can see it. On the other hand, I usually just explore the rooms, particularly interesting looking stuff like this. This is somewhat subtle, I suppose. Bit of a part of the wall that just moves away. And we find ourselves in the Catacombs. There's actually a super quick way through here. If you don't want to, explore all that and come from those stairs and basically go over the bridge to our left, you can just jump down there. And you'll be at the bottom of those stairs, which is where we want to be. However, there's some worthwhile stuff to find over there, over the bridge, in these tunnels. And we meet our old friends, these skeletons, once more. This one had glowing eyes. If it glowing eyes, it means it gets up once. Thankfully, and I say really thankfully, there's no such thing as necromancers in this game. They were, actually, in Dark Souls. In one of the, well, I don't want to say more annoying areas, it was actually quite well designed, though it looked kind of bland compared to other areas. But that necromancers and these skeletons just kept getting up over and over until you found the necromancer, which was usually somewhere out of reach. Though obviously if you knew what you're doing, you could just make short work of them regardless. And these enemies here, the red glowing-eyed ones, they will not get up again. Usually, at least. It's usually just the white glowing skeletons. But some of those big, fast, rolly skeletons can actually get up again. And sometimes they will have red eyes, which probably kind of masks their other glow. Or maybe they don't have one. I am actually not quite sure at this point. But yeah, if you are aware that some skeletons can get up, and how to spot them, they are really easy to take out. They don't really pose that much of a threat. And yeah, we could have just gone on over that bridge, but since you have to come down here anyway eventually if you want to explore everything, why not jump? And yes, they have the Cervantes spin attack, which is an attack that Cervantes, a zombie pirate, has. You know, from Soul Calibur. And you do get the Carthus Pyromancy Tome here. If you have a Pyro build, you'll definitely want to get this. Even if you don't have a Pyro build, you want to get this. Because that way you will get access to the Carthus Flame Arc Pyromancy, which is a weapon buff that just infuses your weapon with fire for a short time. But if it's a weapon buff you want, this is as good as any, really. Overall, I really like this level. It's just, it's a bit odd, because it allows you to basically skip half of it. I showed you how to do that at the beginning. You wanna watch out for pressure plates. This is not the first one that we'll find. And I'm not gonna lie, the first time I actually was not as perceptive, and, you know, I got shot in the back with fire arrows. They do quite a lot of damage, so don't let that happen. Just keep an eye on your surroundings and you'll find those pressure plates before they actually, you know, get triggered by you and kill you. On the other hand, if you know where the arrows are coming from, you will be able to use them against your enemies, because it's not like they're invincible to it. And it's nice that we have some headless skeletons here too. They won't get up, by the way. There's no bullshit like there's skulls somewhere and there's glowing eyes, so it'll get up again. Now they just flat out don't have heads. It's that simple. Alright. A couple episodes ago we did fight a stray demon on top of a bridge, and this is what we got for it. Boulder Heave. A short-range projectile that shatters on impact and actually does splash damage, and some decent damage too, if you hit directly. The description of the soul itself actually reads, "The stray demon, now lacking even a trace of flame, was once the gatekeeper of Lothric." While the description of Boulder Heave doesn't really tell us anything interesting, however, the other item that we can make is one that you may know. It's Havel's Ring. Why we can make from that soul in particular, I don't know. But it actually does increase the equip load considerably, and it would be nice to have for us too, especially, you know, for fashion souls, but I want to test out Boulder Heave. Anyway, description of the ring goes as follows. A ring for warriors keen on heavy, I'm gonna butcher this, accoutrements, I don't know those words, increases maximum equip load. This ring was named after Havel the Rock, the battlefield compatriot of Gwyn, the First Lord. The art of war has been a constant since the ages past, and those who would follow in Havel's footsteps are no fewer now than his own day. So, that's just basically what we can make of the soul. And since it's so minimal, you know, I decided to just, you know, put it in this video. Now, let's actually talk about the weapon that we're using. The Sellsword Twin Blades. Now, last time we used a set of dual-wielding daggers, and this time it is a set of dual-wielding curved swords. I'm not a big fan of curved swords usually, but I actually really like the dual-wield moveset for this one. Again, it just really, you know, combines fast strikes with, you know, medium damage this time around. Not as fast as with the daggers, of course, but it's still, you know, considerably faster than if you'd normally attack. And the range is a bit better as well. And as you could see, it actually does quite a lot of damage to the enemies. It's a little less than, I think, a full combo to kill one of those. And they do get flinched staggered as well, which is nice. But that's just something that those enemies do. No matter what weapon you hit them with, they flinch, and I'm not sure if there's any weapon they won't do that for. And since we came down here another way the first time, we did not see those. Alright. Here's one more item, but to our right here, or to our left now rather, there is a passage, and normally that would be hidden, that would be an illusory wall. But we don't know that, obviously. However, since I have foreknowledge and I do know that, that means that somebody has to have come here before us. And that somebody is actually right down here.
Oh, hello. How very fortunate. Have you seen my companion, Horace? To my shame, I was snared by a trap and we've become separated. I've not been able to find him since. Yes, I see. Horace is a valiant knight. He can look after himself, no question. He's probably searching for me right now, with twice the resolve. If you happen upon him, please tell him that I remain in the Catacombs and will lay prism stones to guide him, as always. Please send him my word, I beg of you. May the flames guide your way. If you happen upon Horace, please tell him that I remain in the Catacombs and will let him.
So, I think we're gonna find Horace again eventually. Knowing the Soul Seer's tendency to not give us any happy endings whatsoever, it might not be the most pleasant encounter, but we'll see. The game does have time to prove us wrong. And yes, even though we didn't do anything to the Crystal Lizard, we did get the reward for it dying. But anyway, you might remember, if you watched my Dark Souls 2 LP, that I said that the snowball in Ilium Lois was my favorite part of the game. Well, that was true at the time. But now my opinion has changed. This right here is my favorite part of the game. Of the series, rather. I mean, hey, this was a ball made of skeletons. And it doesn't just roll down, no, it comes back up. It's awesome. And it'll do so forever and ever and ever. It'll never stop. Until we make it, really. There's one way to actually do make it stop. And since there's a reward for it, I'll do it. This guy with a hat here looks fairly unassuming aside from the fact that he has a head. But he's the one who controls the ball. Now, the next time it hits a wall, or those bars over there, it'll shatter. And from it, you do actually get some undead bone shard, which is, of course, quite the welcome treasure. Because it makes our Estus Flask more powerful. Don't worry, we're not quite done with Skeleton Ball yet. We'll probably see him again later. In case you couldn't see, it actually is a ball made of skeletons. And there's skeletons just kind of clawing themselves, just dragging the ball forward in some fashion. It's a really weird thing, but I'm into it. I like it. Anyway, these skeletons are new. There was one before, and they throw these weird urns that have some dark homing projectiles, and we're gonna go down there eventually. But anyway, there are these containers here, these vases with some kind of cloth on them. They will also spawn these homing projectiles, so if you get through here, you don't want to destroy those, and instead focus on destroying all the others in order to, you know, just get through there without having to dodge attacks. And the Carthus milk ring here, well, it's quite interesting. It has a fairly unique effect. Aside from giving us some extra dexterity, it also makes our dodge roll, or rather, our frames while we dodge, invisible. So we cannot be seen while dodging, though you can still see the wind-up and the recovery from the dodge. It doesn't have any effect on the invincibility frames though, so don't use it for that, it's mainly for style, really. And I love using the environment to kill enemies. This trap here is actually fairly useful in general, because there's a couple enemies ahead and you can just draw them out to here and use that trap to kill them. If you, for some reason, don't feel like fighting them on your own like that, Because they're basically just skeletons, and they do skeleton things, which is mainly that they get up, you hit them, they die. It's the best way to take care of them. Now, right here is another one of those traps. They actually try to lure you to it with a bit of an item here. Doesn't quite work that way though, not as intended. But this trap as well, of course, is incredibly useful. Because there's not one but two rather dangerous enemies here. Because those are the most dangerous enemies that we'll find in here. It's kind of too bad that one of those guys is actually always just out of its reach. However, you can just make him come here. Sometimes it doesn't quite work as it's supposed to. But we have our ways. I'm quite fond of the moveset actually. Because I never really liked curved swords in the other games. And down here we could get a glimpse of something that might have traumatized you if you've played Dark Souls. And we'll go down there. And oh yes, I can hear it! You can best see it here, that's just kind of skeletons just dragging the ball, just, you know, to roll, I guess. Yeah. And that's why I like it. And this is the other side of where we actually destroyed that first ball. We could see the bonfire from there too. But now we're here, and we're pretty much already more than halfway through this area. But there's still some more stuff to explore, of course. It's not an awfully big area. In fact, it's rather small compared to some of the previous ones. But there's still optional stuff here. Like, you saw that little bone wheel tunnel? Yeah. We're pretty much gonna go there soon, very soon. But first, here's one more of those big rats. I believe the last one that we saw was actually in the sewers in the Undead settlement. And it just bears mentioning that they are less threatening than they look. They look like big enemies, but... well, they are, but they're not really that dangerous. You can pretty much just attack them and they don't take that many hits either. And this needs to be opened from the other side, however. There is a bit of an invasion, and this guy wields what you might recognize as a familiar sword if you've played the Dark Souls 2 DLCs. In particular, the Broom Tower DLC. Because this is the Fume Knight Ultra Greatsword, and the Fume Knight was one of the bosses. One of the harder ones, in fact. Some say he was the hardest of Dark Souls 2. I didn't really think he was particularly fun myself. But this sword does pack quite a punch. So let's just showcase just how useful Boulder Heave can be. If you time it right, you can just interrupt his swing that way. However, keep in mind that he does have the Stomp weapon art, which he just used on us. So he can just power through everything. And that can actually kill you if you're not topped off. At this stage he is not actually that powerful, but we'll meet him again later and he will be much more dangerous. The Night Slayer's ring that we got here actually only really serves to do more stamina damage to enemies once we hit them. But it doesn't really strike me as too useful a thing. It might be more useful in PvP, honestly, but I just need to keep mentioning that I don't really know much about PvP. And yeah, we just did kill that slime with our pyromancy hand without actually using a spell. We didn't even use the weapon skill, which is the combustion spell. We just hit it with our hand, and that did the job. So even if you don't really have anything that is fire damage, aside from maybe your torch or your pyromancy glove, just use that. It does work. It works quite well, actually. So, these bone wheels, I'll take care of them unceremoniously in the safest way possible. However, they're not too dangerous, actually. compared to Dark Souls 1 where they were just killers. They could wreck you completely, and they just come straight out of nowhere in very dangerous situations. I'm right now remembering the little cellar, that little part from the Painted World Ariamis, where there would be like a couple in a rather open room with tons of pillars they could hide behind, and they'd come at you and they'd kill you because they'd hit you multiple times if they actually ran into you. Here, they're not really all that dangerous. Again, they just kind of exist. And the Carthus Bloodring, opposed to the Carthus Milkring, actually does increase our invincibility frames, but in return for less defense. So you take a lot more damage. On the other hand, you will be able to dodge through stuff you wouldn't otherwise be able to dodge through, or rather your dodge timing will be much more forgiving. Alright, so that's Skeleton Balls here. Last time we got something neat from it. But, well, let's see what this one has. So it's kind of important that we track down whoever is controlling it, and it will once more be a skeleton with a hat. And this, I believe, is the fastest way there. This, however, is progress, so let's not do it now. Again, I have this thing where I just kind of always go to the place that looks least like progress. And if I know what's progress, I just especially don't do it unless I'm playing Souls game for the 100th time and just want to get to some certain spot. Which maybe, because I already know what's up here. I technically don't need what's up here, to be honest, though. But it is nice to explore the entire area for once again. Because usually, when I go through here, even though I like this area, I just kind of, you know, do the most necessary stuff. I usually just go to the right at the beginning and jump down and skip the entire first part of the area. And here I just kind of run through. It's an incredibly brief area if you just know where to go and if you don't want any of the optional stuff. And while that's true for a lot of areas, this one in particular is pretty short. And here to our right, behind this one pillar or the wall that we can see right now, is actually the hatted skeleton. And this skeleton actually will get up. This one with the red eyes here, I mean, if you kill it. But I believe I forgot that at the time. But now our little hatted friend is dead. Again. Because he was a skeleton, so technically he was dead. And I suppose I was wrong that one skeleton actually did not get up. I must have been mistaken. Maybe it's only the first one who gets up. But anyway, we're done with this part here. I actually did not find this on my first run through for some reason, and here's what's in the ball. A freaking crab! I have to this day no idea why there is a crab in that skeleton ball. I mean, you do get some crafting material for it too, but the crab is really puzzling. I have no idea, and I don't think anybody has an idea why it's there. Though I suppose there's some really deep and hidden lore reasons that we just aren't aware of yet. And this crab is some very important character with some meaning or something, I don't know. And yes, that crystal just did go through the wall, but we still did get the reward for killing it. And it's really fun to backstab that guy, but it doesn't always work. This is a developer message, actually. It wants to draw our attention to that bridge, which does not quite look like it's too stable at this point. And over there's Anri. I'm gonna say it right now, though. Just walking across that bridge is perfectly safe. And we're here at the other end of that gate, where Knight Slayer Tsorig actually invaded us. But now we're here. In a spot that has quite a few bones on the ground. Which should be a little of a warning and tip you off that maybe there's something coming rather soon. But not for us, not now at least. let's just go up here and talk to Anri. We could just avoid the bridge and jump down here, by the way.
Ah, hello. We meet again. Have you seen Horus anywhere? Oh yes, I see. I've searched high and low with no luck. Perhaps he's left the catacombs. Oh, Horus, where have you run off to? Oh, Horus, have you abandoned me? No. What a horrible thought.
So, let's look around here a bit, because down there is, well, something. For one, there's that path that allows us to skip that dangerous looking bridge, but then there's also the sky, and yes, it's Horus. Anri cannot see him for some reason, so Anri will not go down there for some reason. Yeah, so we have to go down there and actually find him. And by the way, Anri mentioned in the first encounter in the Catacombs that she will lay down prism stones, and if you go back to where she was, there will actually be a prism stone. Same's true for this location where she is now. Once we actually, you know, advance this part of the questline, there will be a prism stone where she's standing right now. And yep. Again, just walking across the bridge is perfectly safe. But all these bones you've seen previously have now formed to skeletons and they'll chase us, so we could just destroy the bridge by hitting one of the ropes. But that's not all. Because this will actually create a bit of a ladder you can climb down to. But not for now, we'll do that next time. It's actually quite a short area that's ahead of us there, but we just want to go here, this important looking door. Which of course does smell like a boss fight. And this room has the same aura surrounding it. Unfortunately, we did not get to fight a boss in that room that looked like could yield an interesting boss fight. Instead, we're here, and I'm sure there's nothing up with that hand. It's not the boss, definitely not the boss, no. Of course I'm lying. And we do get the Grave Warden Pyromancy Tome. I don't know what happens if you pick it up, or don't pick it up rather, and kill the boss, but whoops, I died. So the deal with this boss is that there's this fog below him, and that fog will kill us. I did something very, very foolish and actually went to the inside of his arms, which allows him to drag you in. This is not actually an attack that he does, it's just kind of the movement he does with his arms. You're safest just staying outside of his arms. Now thankfully, you really only need to attack these bracelets to do damage to him. Attacking his head or anything else will not really do much. What you're supposed to do is just straight up destroy those bracelets. That's the entire fight. And he can do a couple stuff. He can actually summon skeletons, which he doesn't do here. He can also summon a big sword, which can do some attacks and big AoE stuff, but he won't do that. Mainly because it just kill him too fast. I kill him before he has the chance to do anything. Instead he'll just try to hit me with his arms, and he's done. He's dead. Technically he was dead before, but you know what I mean. Alright, with the High Lord down, we can take a bit of a break for now. Next time we'll explore the rest of the Catacombs and a little bit extra. Essentially, we're gonna try to find Horus. For now, let's just have a quick look at the weapons that you can make from High Lord Wolnir's soul. Alright, let's begin by reading the relevant part of Wolnir's soul. Lord Wolnir of Carthus sentenced countless souls to gruesome deaths, keen to outlive them all. That's everything that the soul says, but let's also have a look at Wolnir's holy sword, the first weapon that we can make from his soul. The description goes as follows. A holy sword eroded by the abyss. When Wolnir fell to the abyss, he was gripped by a fear of true darkness, and pleaded to the gods for the first time. This holy sword, together with 3 armlets stripped from the corpses of clerics, gave him some semblance of comfort. The weapon skill is the Wrath of the Gods. For those of you who played a Souls game before, and especially if you played a Faith build, you'll probably know Wrath of the Gods, a powered up version of the Force Miracle. Force just pushing enemies away, as I demonstrated way earlier in the game. Wrath of the Gods also damages them. And it can be quite devastating under the right circumstances. Especially if you're surrounded by enemies and you want to just quickly cast a miracle and also damage enemies, it's a good option. However, this version, the sword cast, just has a bit of delay beforehand, so it's not really that good. It's probably faster to cast an actual Wrath of the Gods miracle. Especially since you can speed up your casting animation. I don't think that's possible with weapon skills. I could be wrong though. Aside from that, Wolnir's Holy Sword is a great sword. It does what great swords do. It, attacks people. This here though is on a New Game Plus, and the weapon is not really upgraded, so keep that in mind. It's still a fairly powerful weapon since it is a great sword. They're generally more powerful than, smaller weapons. But still, upgraded, it would probably be much better. Alright, next up is a pyromancy called Black Serpent. First up, the description. Pyromancy discovered from the abyss by High Lord Wolnir that inspired the black arts of the Grave Wardens. It releases undulating black flames that trace the ground. Be it sorcery or pyromancy, all techniques that infringe on humanity lead to the same place. That is to say, they all seek a will of their own. And this very much has a will of their own. Because if you cast it, it just goes wherever it wants. Meaning it's kind of random. It's gonna be hard to hit a target that you're not locked onto, but that's true for basically every spell. If you lock onto an enemy, the Black Serpent will actually follow up with that enemy, and after that just go flail around wildly, possibly hit something else, possibly not. And there actually was a spell like this in Dark Souls 2 in the DLCs. I believe it was called Flame Serpent or Flame Snake, but it was the same thing, only it was on fire instead of, dark. But it is actually, quite a powerful spell if you can, have a bit of luck and hit multiple opponents that stand around weird constellations. Like so. Anyway, that's it for now. See you again next time when we explore a bit of the rest of Carthus.